It's the only one of the 7 wonders of the world that is still standing today. 5 million tons of stone, stacked 146 meters high, 4,500 years ago. The Great Pyramid of Khufu is the tallest, largest, and most enigmatic of all the pharaonic constructions. 45 centuries later, the mystery lives on. How was the pyramid actually built? Recently, archaeologists have discovered the village that housed the workers who built these monuments 4,500 years ago. Egyptologists have unearthed numerous clues into their way of life. They were well-fed and decently housed. They were given meat, beer, and bread. The excavations have even shown that the workers were not slaves, as it was once believed. They were proud to serve their pharaoh and accompany him on his journey to the afterlife.
Many, including myself, do not believe that simple tools were enough to create some of the truly wondrous ancient stone monuments seen on just about every continent of the world, from Machu Picchu in South America to the Giza Plateau in Egypt. One thing is for sure, certain ancient monuments do show advanced methods of stonework, but I believe that it wasn't due to the use of electricity and power tools, but a more efficient technology that harnessed natural forces such as the sun, wind, water, or sound. If natural forces were harnessed, there wouldn't be much evidence recorded in the archaeological record, apart from the product of that technology, which is what we see in the form of perfectly drilled granite, intricate diorite vases, and perfectly fitting irregular stone walls. You can't just drill or shape stone in the way you can wood or metal, especially hard stones like granite or diorite, as they are made from extremely hard, interlocking minerals that wear down tools before any real progress can even be made. The ancient stone and metal tools that we are told were used would have very little impact on hard igneous rocks, so archaeology is certainly missing something. In the modern age, it takes diamond-tipped tools and lots of cooling fluid to achieve the feats of stonemasonry that we see in the distant past, and even now it is a relatively slow and difficult process. Which brings us to another theory for how they achieved it, by harnessing the power of sound. Tuning forks, vibrations, sonic drilling, and acoustic levitation are all ways that sound can be utilized for technological gain, and are all scientifically feasible using not just modern but ancient methods and materials. So how does sonic drilling work? Well, in simple terms, when sound vibrations of a specific frequency are sent through a drill bit, or even through something as simple as a metal pipe, it can vibrate in such a way to act like a very high frequency jackhammer. The drill barely needs to turn, as the vibrational impacts and shattering do the job. Compared to conventional drilling, the method is actually faster, puts less wear on the tool bit, and takes less energy. Conceivably, you can even turn the handle of a large tuning fork into a cutting rod, whether a drill tube or a drill bit. Even a copper tube could conceivably cut into granite using this method. One common symbol or object that is seen so often in ancient Egyptian art is the scepter. It appears in relics, art, and hieroglyphs associated with the ancient Egyptian religion. Known as the was scepter, it is a long, straight staff with a forked end. The opposite end is sometimes seen to be a stylized animal head, but maybe this is actually a cutting implement. The scepter was a symbol of power and dominion. and although it has a number of other mythological and symbolic associations, maybe the true meaning got lost through the dynastic history of ancient Egypt. What became a symbol of power maybe once was literally an object of power. You can cut granite efficiently and quickly with a metal pipe if you use sonic drilling methods. The oldest depiction of a rock drill is a hieroglyph known as U24 in Gardner's 1957 guide. This is first seen in a 3rd dynasty tomb at Saqqara. Maybe the hieroglyph is actually depicting a tuning fork tool, and not a depiction of a traditional hand crank rock drill, as we are told. Some researchers believe they have found ancient Egyptian carvings of 2 tuning forks attached by wires on a statue of Isis and Anubis, shown here. This is one way you could get them to resonate to a specific frequency for a prolonged amount of time to cut stone, without hitting them with a hammer. There is also this image from a Sumerian cylinder seal showing a musical scene, and a musician is clearly seen holding a tuning fork. The technology, I'm sure, is ancient, and not an 18th century invention as we are led to believe. Whatever the truth, independent researchers have proved that you can bore holes through solid rock with copper tubing using sonic drilling methods, and with new research into ancient megalithic sites across the world, we are finding out that acoustics were widely understood by the ancients and were certainly taken into account when building stone structures. This relatively new line of archaeological research is known as archaeoacoustics and is observed at sites such as Stonehenge in England, Adam's Calendar in South Africa, and Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, not to mention the Great Pyramid of Egypt.
One theory credits the building of the pyramids and other megalithic monuments to acoustic levitation. No first-hand accounts exist, but later written testimony provides some intriguing and suggestive clues. Abul Hassan Ali al-Masudi, an Arab historian from the 10th century AD, wrote about ancient Egypt and the methods he alleges they used to move massive stones, including those used to build the pyramids. He claimed that a magic papyrus imprinted with symbols was placed under each stone, after which a metal rod was struck against the stone to initiate the levitation process. According to al-Masudi, the stone would be guided along a fenced path with metal poles placed on each side. Some believe these poles could have been used to create high-frequency sound vibrations, which would have been responsible for creating the levitation effects. Outside of this written testimony, which is open to interpretation, there is no direct evidence to suggest the pyramids were constructed by acoustic levitation. But the Great Pyramid of Giza does possess some extraordinary acoustic properties, demonstrating the capacity to dramatically amplify sounds generated at certain frequencies. The Egyptians who built the pyramids on the Giza Plateau clearly knew a lot about sound and knew how it could be used to produce powerful effects, possibly including levitation. Another creation that some have credited to sonic or acoustic levitation is the Coral Castle, which is located in southeastern Florida, not far from the city of Miami. The Coral Castle is a sprawling stone city built by Latvian-American immigrant Edward Ledskalnin between the years 1923 and 1951. The Coral Castle complex is constructed from nearly 1,000 tons of rock, which Ledskalnin somehow cut, shaped, lifted and maneuvered into place all by himself. Ledskalnin refused to allow visitors or observers on site while he was working, so there are no eyewitness accounts detailing his construction methods. There were no reports of mysterious sounds coming from the vicinity of the Coral Castle during the construction phase, but sonic levitation generally relies on the use of sound frequencies that are inaudible to humans. In his writings and conversations, Ledskalnin never specifically identified sound as a key factor in his work. But it is known that he had an interest in radio and possessed a range of radio equipment, which he used for unknown purposes. Ledskalnin at one point told someone he knew how to tune into the music of the stars, a reference that could have either literal or metaphorical connotations. In explaining his amazing feats, the perpetually enigmatic Ledskalnin proclaimed the following: I have discovered the secrets of the pyramids and have found out how the Egyptians and the ancient builders in Peru, Yucatan and Asia, with only primitive tools, raised and set and placed blocks of stone weighing many tons. There is an implication here that somehow these ancient masters had developed a method for overcoming the force of gravity. Just exactly how Ledskalnin would have discovered the secrets of the ancients is unknown. Many anecdotal tales of acoustic levitation come from travelers in the Far East who claim to have encountered mystics or ascetics who possess the ability to levitate objects, sometimes with the assistance of sound. One fascinating story came from a medical doctor named Jarl, who had been brought to a remote area of Tibet in 1939 to treat a Tibetan Buddhist holy man suffering from an unknown illness. After spending some time among the monks, he eventually gained their confidence, and to show their appreciation, they performed a demonstration in sonic levitation that left Dr. Jarl astounded. In a clearing, the monks arranged 19 musical instruments, 13 drums and 6 trumpets, in a 90-degree arc around a large heavy stone. On cue, they began to play these instruments in unison, singing and chanting at the same time. After a few moments, the stone suddenly lifted into the air, and it continued to rise until it landed on a hilltop perch approximately 250 meters above the ground. The demonstration was repeated multiple times for Dr. Jarl, who claimed the films he made of this procedure were confiscated by the English Scientific Society, which had sponsored his trip to Asia. The drawings Dr. Jarl made of this procedure have survived to this day, although the films he allegedly made have never surfaced. A few years ago, sonic drilling technology was developed by NASA as a means to mine materials from rocks and other hard materials encountered on space missions. This helped boost interest in the capacity of sound to generate force, including the power necessary to levitate physical objects. Compared to stories of heavy stones lifted high into the air by chanting and drum-playing monks, the achievements of 21st century scientists may not seem impressive. But they do show that sound waves can be used to accomplish amazing things. Acoustic levitation is real, and as scientists learn more about how it works, their ability to harness it will likely advance by leaps and bounds.